we as women should not be intermittent fasting. And I know a ton of you are gonna lose your cool on this, but I want you to listen to exercise physiologist and nutrition scientist, Dr. Stacy Sims, explain exactly why we as women do not and should not be intermittent fasting. And in fact, it has the opposite outcome that we are trying to achieve. So if you are not convinced by the end of this video that we do not need to be intermittent fasting, I want you to comment below.
When we look at intermittent fasting, this is where it gets a little bit crazy because you have people that are, doing the fasting mimicking type diet where they have days of really low calorie intake, and then we have days of normal eating, or we have the 24 or the 16-8. There's all sorts of different ways of people not eating with the idea of increasing metabolic flexibility, increasing our mitochondrial respiration and mitochondrial density, telomere length, all this kind of stuff. When we look at all the positive outcomes, it's based on male data. When we look at what happens for women, completely different story. We don't have an increase in parasympathetic drive. We have an increase in sympathetic drive. We have more glucose dysregulation, so a little bit more insulin resistance. We don't have a change in autophagy. We don't have a change in telomere length. And it has really to do with the hypothalamus. So when we look at the hypothalamus, there are two areas in the hypothalamus that register nutrient density for women. And there are two areas specifically because we have a more robust endocrine system. So that means that we have a menstrual cycle, we have, daily perturbations of estrogen and progesterone that change cyclically. And then we have an area that's really regulated by estrogen, that's appetite control and circadian rhythm. But for men, there's only one area. And so endocrine and metabolic control and everything is in that one area. We also look at sex differences in muscle morphology. So men, by the nature of being born XY, have more glycolytic fibers. So that means they can burn sugar pretty quickly. They have more fast twitch. They're able to do that high intensity work, but they don't have as much of the mitochondrial type fibers, but women do. So women are born with more of the aerobic type fibers. So we already have that maximum fatty acid oxidation capacity, better mitochondrial health, all of those things that, people are saying, I'm doing fasted, I'm doing fasted training to improve. As women, we don't need to do that. So then when we start looking specifically at what does fasted mean, we see in the research when women are doing fasted training, it exacerbates this misstep in the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus is like, hey, wait a second, there's not enough nutrition coming in. So I'm going to stay in this breakdown state, this catabolic state. So I'm going to just really start stripping down lean mass. So people are trying to do fasted training to improve metabolic health and build lean mass and burn body fat. It does the opposite in women. But for men, completely different story because their threshold for that nutrient sensitivity is completely different.
So are you convinced